Absolutely need to have an independent inquiry into the origins and the trajectory of the coronavirus. I'd have thought we should be able to do that at the same time as maintaining good, friendly relationships with the Chinese government and the Chinese people. I thought some of the comments in the last 24 hours were a little bit unfortunate. I don't think Australians take kindly to being threatened, and I don't think it was in the interests of either country for that sort of thing to be going on. I think most Australians would agree that we need to have an independent inquiry. Let's have the dust settle on this, but I think most Australians would agree that we need to have an independent inquiry. And I think an equal number of Australians would say we need to maintain healthy economic and fraternal ties with the Chinese government and the Chinese people. I think we can do both.
Mining billionaire Twiggy Forrest has told ABC Radio that he thinks that we shouldn't be pursuing an inquiry that singles out China, and we shouldn't be having the inquiry until after the US election to avoid it being politicised. Do you agree?
Look, this is not an investigation into any one country. It's an investigation into a virus, how it's transmitted from animals into the humans and how it was then able to spread throughout the globe. I think we need to know a lot more about the origins and the causes of this virus, and that's what any independent inquiry would get to the bottom of. The reason we need to do it is that this virus is going to be around forever. So we need to understand everything about it to ensure that we can learn how we're going to live with it and how we can get our economy and our society back on foot, but also to ensure that we can learn a little bit more to prepare us for the next significant transmission of a virus or some other pandemic. If the history of the last 30 years has told us everything, it's that this is not going to be unique. So for all of those reasons, we do need an independent inquiry. I fully support what the government has had to say on this.
Now, when it comes to the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic management, we heard some really interesting observations from Treasury yesterday in its hearing with a number of key government and opposition members as part of this committee. Now, what's really interesting is looking at the potential for recovery. We've heard that they think a number of businesses won't survive this.
Yeah, what is clear is that Australia is going to look very, very different on the other side of this. We've already got more than 1 million Australians out of work. That number is probably actually larger than that because the JobKeeper figures aren't included in that data. We've got literally thousands of small businesses who've closed their door. Many of them won't open up again on the other side of this. We need to ensure that we have a national recovery program in place that kicks in to ensure that we can rebuild our economy. But just as importantly, we're going to rebuild it on a sustainable basis and in a way that reflects both the aspirations and the needs of ordinary Australians. And I think that needs a mature and a long-term conversation. We should be looking at the sorts of long-term settings that are going to set us up for the future and not just short-term political settings.
Now, you've been quite persistently critical of this scheme to allow Australians to access their superannuation early if they're in financial distress because of the coronavirus pandemic. And you think that Treasury misled the government over the superannuation access scheme yesterday?
Well, a couple of things. Whenever I comment on this, I just want to make it quite clear. We opposed it at the beginning. It's up and running now. We want to ensure that it works properly and that Australians get their lawful entitlements as and when they're entitled to draw down on it. But we also feel an obligation to point out the costs to both individuals, to the superannuation system, the finance system and the economy as a whole, and we'll continue to do that. And in that context, I think it's really important that the information that is made public by the Treasury and others is accurate and reliable. Unfortunately, yesterday, I don't know whether he misspoke or he just got it wrong, but information provided to the Senate committee by one of the Treasury officials was just plain wrong on the way the modelling has been done by some of the industry and other superannuation bodies on the cost to individuals of an early drawdown. So it is important that that record is corrected as soon as possible. I think it is also important that we get some independent modelling done of what the long-term cost of this is going to be, both to the system and to individuals. We are in a bit of disputed territory about what the cost of this is going to be to individuals. I think nobody denies that there will be a significant impact if somebody is drawing down as much as $20,000. The arguments are about whether it's going to cost an individual an enormous amount or a huge amount, not whether it's going to cost those individuals much at all. I think so that we can reflect on this down the track, I think it is important that we get this sort of accurate information out and available to the public.